day. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our next herbal hour. And tonight I'm going to be talking about the respiratory system. So we'll see how this goes. Should be fun. Of course, it always wants to do this. Hold on a minute. It always wants to give me presenter view for the herb class, but it doesn't do that for my iridology class or any of the other ones. It's so weird. Okay, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So we'll talk about the respiratory system tonight, and all of you know me. And Susan is here. So Susan's my massage therapist. She's up in Grass Valley. So Donna, if you need a massage therapist, she's really good. And if you need to come all the way over here from where you are for a massage therapist, she's really good. I got a massage from her last week, and she used the hot towel and the hot rocks, and she uses the cups. And my body was like, oh, I got out of there. I was like, more. Don't stop. Just keep going forever. But of course, yeah. So for those of you that live around here, she's great. All right. So I'm just going to skip over this because you all know me, and it's on all of my stuff. So thank you for being here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I was going to bring in my mullein is starting to come up now in our yard. And I was going to bring it in, and I'm like, nah, I'll wait till it gets a little taller. Then I'll bring you a plant.
We went to one of the woods around here, kind of like off to the back, and we saw some, I think mullein growing, but it was like towards the end, so you could tell it was shooting up. It was either that or a chaparral. It was shooting up, and it just kind of stayed there, and then we saw some in the ground. Like, oh, how pretty.
It only grows in one place. So I have 3 acres, right?
It's near the water. So.
It grows underneath. We have 2 persimmon trees. It grows underneath one of the persimmon trees. And I have over 30 trees, different kinds of fruit trees, almond trees, and all that kind of stuff that we planted. But it only grows under this one persimmon tree. Now, it is by the faucet. So you're talking about water, so that might be why it's growing under that tree. But it gets so tall that it goes past the tree, goes past. And then it seems to grow under the ground and send up more babies. So we end up with starting with 1 and we end up with 30, and theirs like almost as tall as I am. And then of course they have the yellow flowers on top. And this is great if you have them growing in your yard, because guess what? It's good for the respiratory system. Yeah. All right. So I had that great picture. So I'll bring some in. We still have to do the tinctures and things. Okay. I need to go over this as I always do. Joyful Living Services cannot be held liable for any misuse or malpractice of any techniques taught within this webinar, nor for any injury, suffering, or distress caused by students undertaking the techniques discussed. All students must accept that they are wholly responsible for their actions relating to the practice of herbs and must adhere to the relevant laws in their country and state of residence. Students are responsible for ensuring that they have appropriate insurance for practicing in their country and state of residence. Joyful Living Services cannot be held responsible for any advice given by students to members of the public. Students must adhere to their local laws regarding the requirement for registration and/or qualification as an herbalist before suggesting supplements or offering nutritional advice. And on that note, let's talk about the respiratory system. Respiration provides oxygen to the bloodstream. All body cells need oxygen to live and function properly. And without oxygen, body cells start dying within minutes. Common respiratory concerns, as you should know already and probably have experienced, include runny nose, sneezing, allergies, postnasal drip, coughs, colds, bronchitis, sinusitis, pneumonia, asthma, right? These are all different respiratory symptoms. And then, of course, they can link them all together and put names on them. Associated problems can include earache, sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, and tonsillitis. And I got a little story about that. Signs of chronic respiratory weakness include wheezing, shortness of breath, and emphysema. And, we thought that this is a thing of the past where they go in and take tonsils out of kids. When I was growing up, that was the thing to do. Probably a lot of you too. You're growing up and you get chronic tonsillitis and chronic sore throats and chronic ear infections, and they go, okay, let's take out the tonsils. So needless to say, my tonsils and adenoids are missing. So I thought that we've come far, much farther to understand that usually when there's tonsillitis, that has to do with food allergies and, and issues with the pollens or, the body. The tonsils have a really important purpose, right? Their job is to collect that bacteria so that it doesn't go down into the bronchioles and it doesn't go down into the lungs, right? That has a purpose. And of course, in the old days, as I call it, when I was a kid, they didn't think the tonsils had a purpose, just like they didn't think the appendix had a purpose. But it's lymph, it's lymph tissue. Anyway, so I didn't find out about it until the day of, and this mom that I know proceeded to tell me that she was at the hospital waiting for her daughter that was going to have surgery to take one of her tonsils out. This was a week ago. 2 weeks? Almost 2 weeks. And I'm like, why? Why? Right? This is the first question. Why? Well, because she's had an infection in that tonsil for 2 months and the doctor said she needs to have it removed. I'm like, really? There's echinacea. All you got to do is take echinacea and some vitamin C and it'll probably will no longer happen, right? And so I said, well, when she after surgery and she gets better, bring her to me and I'll help you so you don't have to remove the other tonsil. And, she said, okay, I'll do that. And the doctor wanted to take both tonsils, but the mom fought for the second tonsil, right? I could just see her, boom, boom. And so the daughter had the tonsil removed and, she had all the symptoms that you have after surgery, sore throat, couldn't eat, da, 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 da. Well, I got a message yesterday that her daughter had to go into emergency surgery because she started hemorrhaging and breathing blood. She was hemorrhaging blood from her throat. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? How could she be hemorrhaging blood? This is over a week later after the surgery, And I thought, well, what you would think that if this child had problems with hemorrhaging, it would happen right after the surgery, not a week later, And so apparently this doctor said that he hasn't seen that in a child since 1999. And now he thinks that there's some kind of a blood disorder. So they're going to be checking her for a blood disorder. And I'm just like, okay, fine. If you find a blood disorder, bring her to me. Okay. Don't take anything more out of her body. Just bring her to me and I'll help her because I'm working with the mom. The mom's diabetic and she's got a pump she's got a pump for insulin and when I was in front of her, she was popping glucose tablets and oh my gosh. So I'm just like, just bring your whole family in here, and we'll work on balancing out your body rather than taking pieces of your body out that aren't necessary. So anyway, she went through her emergency surgery and now now she's recovering again. And so I just thought I would share that story with that. So, those kids that have lost their tonsils like me, I kind of wonder, I was talking to my husband last night, we were talking about, it's like, I wonder what the statistics are. The difference between kids that still or adults that still have their tonsils and adenoids versus adults that lost their tonsils and adenoids, and the amount or the incidence of pneumonia and bronchitis, because that is their purpose. Their purpose is to absorb the bacteria so it doesn't go down into the lungs. I don't know if they've ever done that kind of a study or not. Jackie says, my son with special needs had his adenoids removed when he was 4. His doctor said they grow back. Well, maybe I have my adenoids. That would be nice. But I certainly don't have my tonsils. Okay. Anyway, there's this little story for you. Okay. So the respiratory system's primary function is to provide oxygen to the bloodstream. Once in the blood, oxygen travels through the circulatory system to all the cells of the body. The body cells need oxygen to create energy. And here is a pulse oximeter chart. I'm sure all of you have one, especially since COVID, because I think the manufacturers made a lot of money on these little gizmos. If you don't have one, get one. All right. Every household should have a pulse oximeter. And you can see there that normal blood oxygen levels is 95 to 100%. 91 to 95 is concerning. 90 is low. 80 to 85 is when that saturation affects the brain. And 60 is bad news. Okay. So I just checked mine just now before class, and I was at 99 and went to 100. When was the last time you checked yours?
Month, week.
Okay, here, I'll let you check it and just push the little button. So if you don't know how to use it, you just put it on your finger, push the button, and it'll do your heart rate. And some will check your blood pressure, but most just check your oxygen level. You should be at 100%. You should be at 99, 100%. Okay, if you're not, there you go, saturation. This is finger unplugged.
Oh, 96.
Do it again. I thought I just saw 90. Yeah, you should be up there.
100 and then 96 was
100.
my BPM.
Yeah. What's your BPM? 96?
Mhm.
Oh, you're higher than I am. Ooh.
It's going down.
Yeah, well, you just got here. Okay. When air enters the body through the nose or the mouth, it travels down the trachea or the windpipe into the bronchi. The bronchi branch into smaller tubes called bronchioles, which lead to these little alveoli. Okay. And alveoli are tiny air sacs that are clustered around the ends of the smallest bronchioles. These air sacs are surrounded by tiny, thin-walled blood vessels called capillaries. Through these thin walls, carbon dioxide leaves the body and oxygen enters it. So somebody that has emphysema, somebody that smokes, somebody that has damage to the lungs, somebody that has problems, with asthma and breathing, it affects these alveoli. What is that disease that you? So my grandfather, he worked in the shipyards in San Francisco, and they had asbestos. He had asbestosis. And we also think that he had, what's the one that they're advertising on TV? What is it called?
Mesothelioma.
Say it again.
Mesothelioma.
Mesothelioma. Yeah, my mom thinks that he had that as well. But working with the shipyards, in San Francisco, and they had asbestos, and he breathed that. He was also a smoker. He smoked. He also worked on the Golden Gate Bridge, and when they were building it, and he also worked for the on the cable cars in San Francisco. But and then he was also a mechanic, so he was working with brakes and all those kinds of things, and he breathed all that, and it affected his lungs. So okay, the lungs filter the air we breathe and only allow microscopic particles to actually reach the alveoli. The body also uses a mucous membrane, we all know what that is, to protect the airways and prevent dust particles and other irritants from being absorbed. So, right, so now it's spring. Yeah, we're getting into spring and the flowers are everywhere and all the chaparral is blooming here. Well, lots and lots of people are allergic to chaparral. And so I know I'm going to be getting all kinds of people with, hacking and coughing and blowing their nose and on that postnasal drip. But that's the body's job, right? The body's job is to clear that out so it doesn't go into your lungs. Yeah. And so because the lungs' ability to absorb substances into the bloodstream, some medications are administered this way, like many asthma sufferers, they use inhalers. It allows them to breathe medicine. And of course, we use essential oils, rub it on our hands, breathe it in, right? And a really good one is eucalyptus. Yeah. So anytime there's anything with the lungs, eucalyptus. My son used to have croup. And so we would put eucalyptus and thyme. We had the little night lights with the little pads in them. and I'd get the essential oils and put the eucalyptus and the thyme on those pads and stick it in the wall, right? And then you breathe that, and it opens up those passages and it opens up the throat. And then of course take him off milk, you know, and he still knows that. He's in the Army, and he still knows that during the winter time when he gets mucusy, stay off of dairy, you know, and then that helps, which is really good that he still knows that. All right. Cilia. Although we think of the lungs as doing all the respiratory work, the sinuses and trachea also play critical roles in the system. The sinuses filter and humidify the air we breathe. They also regulate the temperature of incoming air. So you're supposed to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're not supposed to breathe in through your mouth and get all that cold air in your lungs. You're supposed to breathe in through your nose so that your nose warms the air and humidifies it before it goes into your lungs. The trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles are lined with cilia, and there's a picture right there, right here, which are tiny hair-like structures that pulsate continuously, pushing mucus, foreign particles up toward the pharynx so they can be swallowed, which is kind of gross, broken down and eliminated. Okay, what we really prefer is to cough it up, right? A really good way to do that is to get in a really hot shower and just cough and see if that junk will come out. You can get it out. So cilia looks like hairs that have a beating action, and the continual sweeping movement of the cilia keeps the lungs clean and free of debris. And the cilia may not do their job well with people who have infections, smoke, are exposed to toxic gases. I've got some statistics in here that, okay, so this is a kind of a cool image. What happens to your lungs when you have asthma? Here's the lungs over here without asthma. The muscles are relaxed. There's normal airways, normal amount of mucus. This is that mucus lining right here. Okay, here's lungs with asthma. The muscles tighten, the airways swell, mucus clogs the airways, lungs have difficulty moving air in and moving air out. So the bronchi and bronchioles are surrounded by smooth muscle. In some people, these muscle spasms make breathing very difficult. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, could it be allergic asthma that's caused by plants and allergies? Could it be from hiatal hernia? So it's not really asthma, because there are people, they think they have asthma and instead they have a hiatal hernia. And when that's corrected, all of a sudden they can breathe, right? So this condition is known as asthma, and it affects millions of Americans, often limiting their activities. And there's some statistics here. Doctors at Tel Aviv in Israel found that 45% of asthmatics who took a mega dose of vitamin C, and they consider that 2,000 milligrams, which I don't consider 2,000 milligrams a mega dose, before exercising, were able to do so without coughing, sneezing, and experiencing shortness of breath. So how about all those people that are on asthma medicines? If they just included 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C, or actually took it to bowel tolerance. Do all of you know what bowel tolerance is?
Bowel.
No.
Bowel or bowel?
Bowel, B-O-W-E-L, bowel tolerance. Okay, so bowel tolerance is, Jackie knows. All right, so bowel tolerance, when you take vitamin C to bowel tolerance, you take it to the point to where you get diarrhea. Okay, so you probably just didn't know that's what it's called, right? So you would start with 1,000 today, and you go to 2,000 tomorrow, and you go to 3,000 the next day, and you go to 4,000, you go to 5,000, okay? And you go 1,000 a day up until you start having the runs. That's bowel tolerance. So then you back it down. So let's say you hit 5,000 in one day, and that's where you got diarrhea. So you back it down to 4,000 the next day, and you stay there until you start getting the runs. Then you back it down to 3,000, and so on, so on, so on. That's called bowel tolerance. When you're sick, you can take it all the way up to 10,000 without getting the runs easily, because your body needs that. It needs that vitamin C, okay? So people with asthma, if they take 2,000 before exercising, I kind of wonder on these statistics. What about for the whole day? You know, are they taking 6,000 a day? Are they only taking 2,000 before exercising? It kind of leaves open for questions. Okay, another 10% of participants also experienced benefits, though they were less significant. Well, I think that everybody is going to experience benefits from vitamin C, especially in the wintertime. Well, especially in the fall, especially in the winter, especially in the spring. What does that leave? Summer? It's gonna you're gonna benefit from vitamin C in the summer as well. You know, especially.
When I got my eyes corrected, they recommended I get at least 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C just to help my retina heal.
To help your retina?
Because I have PRK. So they
Okay.
basically sanded the cornea down.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It's better than flipping them, having a little pocket.
Yeah, correcting the eyes. So here's a very graphic image, right? You can take steps to promote respiratory health, practice good hygiene, wash your hands frequently. That should remind you of COVID. Don't smoke, avoid secondhand smoke, get plenty of sleep, exercise regularly. And you know what they say about sitting, right? That it's the new smoking. Practice deep breathing, eat a balanced diet, be wary of air pollution, and reduce the amount of stress in your life. I guess I have lots of stories tonight. I had lunch with one of my friends Monday. She's just a little bit older than I am. Okay, she's not that much older. She retired. I could retire tomorrow if I wanted to. Okay, so she retired from the state, and she does not take care of herself. I mean, I hate to say it, but she looked dumpy, right? Her hair looked dumpy, her body looks dumpy. She wasn't wearing a bra, you know. And I don't care if you don't wear a bra, but I do if it looks dumpy, okay? What I consider dumpy. And she showed up with a cane, you know, and I'm just like, and I know she's got some arthritis, she's got some pain. And she was taking ASEA for a really long time, and then she stopped. And then, of course, she got worse. And so we sat there and we had lunch, and she could not get up off the chair. And, you know, and she moved the table over, and I'm like, you know, I was going to give her my arm. I said, do you want some help? And she goes, let me try first. Let me get up. And she finally did. She pushed herself up and got her cane. And then she walked so stiff out of the restaurant and across. I was worried she was going to get hit because she was so slow, walking so stiff across that parking lot. So I asked her, I said, what are you doing, you know, during the day now that you're not working? Nothing. I'm like, what do you mean nothing? She goes, I watch my shows all day. She does nothing. She just sits there all day long. So what's going to happen to her body? It's going to atrophy. Exactly. She's going to get stiff. You know, it's like, okay, well, how about moving a little bit? How about walking your dog? How about, you know, I was asking her stuff, you know, it's like, well, what about, you know, doing things, going for a walk and doing stuff? She's got this little dog, and she's one of those people that it's, you know, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you gotta be friends with them without judgment, and just, it's hard though, right? It's really hard to watch somebody go down. And she's going down pretty fast. She really is. So the sitting, not exercising, is they're calling it the new smoking. Okay, examining the respiratory system. Many supplements promote respiratory health. The two main ones are Mullein and Lobelia. That's a picture of Lobelia down here that was in class earlier. Mullein is a mucilage. It's soothing to the respiratory tract. It has expectorant properties. It promotes the elimination of mucus from the mouth, helps heal inflammation in the breathing passageways. And Lobelia acts as an antispasmodic on smooth muscles, helping the bronchi to relax. It also has nerving and expectorant properties. You have to be careful with Lobelia. Too much Lobelia will make people throw up. Okay, it'll make too much mucus come out, and then people will throw up. All right.
was able to find some liquid chaparral.
Liquid chaparral. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Chaparral is, I've got it on my property.
What?
I
They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
Snitch
I've
this
got it
up.
on my property. If you have any warts, if you have any warts or you have any cysts
Mhm.
or you have anything on the outside of your body, you can chew it up, make it into a
Okay.
poultice and put it on there and wrap it. It will dissolve. Yeah, it'll dissolve it if you have anything on your skin. And then of course, taking it internally, you have to be careful not to take too much
Right.
because it's a really strong detox. But I've used it to get rid of fibroids and cysts and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
What herb was that, Brenda?
Chaparral,
Chaparral?
chaparral. It grows like crazy up here. Donna, those are the flowers that are yellow on the side of the freeway that you see the plants on the freeway that have the yellow flowers. And those are all chaparral and they're going to all start blooming now and everybody's going to get all mucousy because people really have a hard time with chaparral. Okay. Did you know on average, a person exchanges about 6 liters of air every minute? And when the brain is deprived of oxygen, permanent brain damage can occur in as little as 4 minutes. I think most of us know that. At least 20 million Americans suffer from hay fever. Smoking contributes to the loss of mental capacity, including memory, in elderly people. And this decline in memory is related to decrease in blood flow to the brain. And it happens at such a slow rate that the smoker does not feel it. The EPA estimates, and this is a big one, the EPA estimates that secondhand smoke causes approximately 3,000 lung cancer deaths and 37,000 heart disease deaths in non-smokers each year. We're not even talking about smokers here, non-smokers, because of secondhand smoke, right? So my friends came from Croatia and they were here. They stayed with me for 3 days and then we went down to the IPA conference. We were down there and one of the ladies smokes and she's a friend of my student. And the first thing she wanted to do when she got off the plane after 15, well, it was an 18-hour trip for them. After she got off the plane of 15 hours coming from, they came from, well, they went from Croatia to, they went to Amsterdam. Well, anyway, the first thing she wanted was a cigarette. And we were at San Francisco. We were at the airport. And I said, I don't think you can smoke anywhere here in the whole city, you know? And she just, you know, I did take her. She smoked in the parking garage. There was a place. And, you know, the whole time they were here, you know, she was always hunting for a place to smoke. And there's so many places that you can't smoke, right? I mean, we even, you know, we were down at Fisherman's Wharf and we were down at Pier 39. Yeah. And there's this really great place where you can get drinks and food and they all wanted a drink. And so we sat on these really cool benches outside and she goes, can I have a cigarette? And I go, I don't think so. She goes, but we're outside. I'm like, I don't think so. So we asked the waiter and he goes, no, you can't smoke here. She goes, but I'm outside. It's like, so she had to leave we were outside in this little fenced in area. She had to leave the fenced in area and go across the quad to the tree and she could smoke at the tree. And I'm like, dang, you know, you just got to quit smoking, you know? But, you know, she can smoke anywhere in Croatia. They don't care, you know, they don't care. Okay, if you have 4 or more of the following indications, you may consider nutritional aid to the respiratory system: body odor and or bad breath, eat meat more than 3 times a week, food allergies. I mean, gosh, this is number 1, right? Smoking, regular consumption of dairy products. It's huge. Low endurance, stamina, exposure to air pollution daily. Yeah. Respiratory, sinus, or allergy problems, right? Okay, here's some really cool facts. The right lung is slightly larger than the left. Did you know that?
Sometimes in pictures, I think I've noticed that.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Hairs in the nose help to clean the air we breathe as well as warming it. So that's why you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The highest recorded sneeze speed is 165 kilometers per hour. How do you, boy, that'd be fun to who did that? The surface area of the lungs is roughly the same size as a tennis court. Is that amazing? Just think of a tennis court, the size of the tennis court, the surface area of the lungs is almost the same size as that. Isn't that amazing? The capillaries in the lungs would extend 1,600 kilometers if placed end to end. We lose half a liter of water a day through breathing. This is the water vapor we see when we breathe into a glass. So people that are always dehydrated, right? Oh, but I drink. Yeah. A person at rest usually breathes between 12 and 15 times a minute. Every minute we breathe, we take in 13 pints of air. That is, we breathe about 6.15 liters of air every minute. The breathing rate is faster in children and women than in men. That makes sense. Yeah. So I thought those were some cool facts. Somebody put some up here. Jackie said, in the US, there is a 25-foot distance a smoker should adhere to be safe. Ah,
Yeah.
okay, 25 feet.
Medical campuses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Military bases, I think, are a little bit more strict. They're like 50.
Military bases are stricter?
Yeah, depending on where they are, and they're actually trying to cut down on smoke pits. But yeah, some of them are 25 feet, others are like 50, 75 feet.
Well, I've been in bowling alleys where they have smoking rooms. So she was asking if there was a smoking room there at the airport. And I don't know, at least not there. It wasn't there at the international terminal, so yeah, it was interesting. She was hiding a lot so she could. And my daughter goes, yeah, she's addicted. And of course she's like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Okay.
It was the hardest thing I had to do was quit smoking.
Yeah.
I don't even like to talk on the phone to this day because that's what I used to do when I smoked.
Good for you that you quit. Yeah, well, it's not only quitting smoking, it's also changing your habits, right? My father-in-law and mother-in-law, they were chain smokers, and they put 2 chairs in their garage, and they would go out and sit in their chairs and smoke and watch the birds and the squirrels. And they love bird watching. But it was a huge thing about holding something in the fingers and sitting there. So they had to change that. They moved their chairs, so that they sat under the trees instead. And they had to change more than just not smoking, right? Yeah. If you take peppermint, you can put it on the fingers, and that helps with that, and put it in the mouth, on the tongue, and that helps with the taste. So it changes the taste. So at least that helps a few things. Of course, then you have the cravings. So you have to deal with the cravings. Yeah. There's herbs that help that too. So, okay. So 7 home remedies: ginger, garlic, taking Epsom salt baths, onions, and honey. So there's some things there. Add half a teaspoon each of ground ginger, cinnamon, cloves in a cup of hot water, stir well and drink. Take 3 garlic cloves, peel and chop them. Put them in a glass of milk, although I wouldn't, not dairy, okay? And boil, drink it at night before going to bed. To prepare the bath, add 2 to 3 pounds, 1 to 1.5 kilograms of Epsom salt to warm bath water. Simply 1 teaspoon of raw onion juice every morning on an empty stomach. Add 1 teaspoon of honey to your regular cup of tea and drink. I have a client who's making her own cough syrup right now, or her own syrup, and I've got the link for that. I'll have to send it out. Add 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder to a glass of milk, boil it, drink it in 2 or 3 times a day.
I think that's sound like that remedy. What's it called?
Golden milk. Yeah, that's golden milk. And combine 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds, 1 teaspoon of linseed or flaxseed, a pinch of cinnamon salt, and 1 teaspoon of honey. Take this mixture daily before going to bed. So there you go. You can play with some of those things. So suggestions: lose weight if you're overweight, right? Because that helps so you can breathe better. Takes the pressure off. Avoid smoking. Walk outside daily for fresh air. If it's fresh, as long as there's not a fire outside, right? We'll see how this summer goes. Avoid dairy products when congested. Hey, that's what I told my son, right? Practice deep breathing exercises and sing and laugh. Singing opens up the lungs, and laughing and dancing and dancing, all those things, and laughing. Okay, here's some products to help the respiratory system. Remember that these are generic, so allergy combinations, there's mullein, Chinese lung support combinations. Fenugreek and thyme, I have a client that's been taking fenugreek and thyme since I've known her, and I knew her in San Francisco. Right, so, gosh, how long ago was that? 20 years ago? And she swears by fenugreek and thyme. If she runs out of it, she panics. But she's always mucousy. She's got blue eyes, and she's always mucousy, and so she swears by that it helps her. Garlic, any kind of sinus support combinations, yeah, to open up the sinuses, to help the sinuses. Also, the other thing is to check people for mold, right? Check people for mold in their homes. I had a lady the other day that she's got sinus problems, and I told her, I ran a Zyto on her and it came up with mold. And so I asked her about her house, and she told me that there's mold behind the wall in the bathroom. And when they take a shower and the walls get kind of dewy, they can see it. And of course, it's not their house, they're renting. So it's not like they can just remove the wall, the sheetrock, and clean it back there. And can you imagine seeing that behind your wall? Yeah, okay. Echinacea golden seal. Well, we know all about echinacea and golden seal, how great those are. Breathe easy combinations, lobelia, as long as you don't use too much of it. Histamine blockers, that helps certain people that need to help with allergies. And lobelia and St. John's wort, that helps with, for stop smoking, to get off nicotine.
Oh, wow.
Helps the body readjust from tobacco dependence, while St. John's wort assists in maintaining calm nerves and a good mood.
Okay.
And this one has alfalfa as well, which provides balance and adds needed nutrition for smokers. So if you know anybody that wants to stop smoking, you can give them the lobelia and St. John's wort, okay? And that will help them. And then give them some peppermint oil to put on their tongue and put on their fingers, so that when they taste the cigarette, it doesn't taste good. And then also the smell is on their fingers. And then help them change their habits. And then, of course, another really great thing for people that want to quit smoking is hypnotherapy. I mean, hypnotherapy works really well for that. So there's all kinds of things that can be done. Okay, so here's a flow chart. Once again, originally from Stephen Horn and then edited many times by me. And also Kathy Norris added her oils. Okay, so we've got constricted airways going two directions. We've got history of anxiety and stress, history of hay fever, respiratory, allergies. So it's not always asthma. It could be allergic asthma. It could be stress. So my dad was diagnosed with allergic asthma when he moved up to the property. And he lived there 30 years, and my mom and dad never believed he had allergic asthma. My mom always thought that it was anxiety. And then he had a stroke. And I never saw it until he had the stroke. And then after he had the stroke, he started having anxiety attacks, really obvious anxiety attacks. And it would affect, and he couldn't breathe. Well, of course you can't breathe. When you have an anxiety attack, your lungs start closing up, your throat closes up, right? I don't know if you've all had them. I've had them. I know how it feels. Your chest gets really tight. Everything closes up on you. And so he'd get his inhaler and he'd be puffing on his inhaler. Well, the inhaler wouldn't help because it's all about opening up the lungs in a different way. And so so he started going to acupuncture. Thank God he's open to that. He went to acupuncture. I started having putting his feet in a water bath. And he did that every night. He'd fall asleep with his feet in a water bath. He started doing acupuncture, and he started going to counseling for people that have had stroke, and that worked. And he stopped having the panic attacks. And now once in a while he'll still have it, and he'll get his inhaler out, but it's mostly He's pretty good now. But that can happen with anxiety and stress. Depends on where people hold their stress. You know, where it's not like you really have a choice of where to direct that. It's just who you are and where it goes. So, history of anxiety and stress, there can be wheezing, deep gasping, coughing, bronchial constriction, nervous asthma, asthma attacks, closing down of everything, right? And so here are some things to use: breathe easy combinations, lobelia, asthma homeopathics, and then of course all of the oils that Kathy added, which is the eucalyptus, the Ravensara, the Palo Santo, RC, Valor, Raven, and Breathe Again. Okay. Stress expands my hips. Do I want to know how it does it? Are you a stress eater? Exactly. There you go. Okay. Stress. Yeah. See, if I get super stressed, it'll affect my lungs. But for me, stress goes right into my muscles. And so that's why the floating today, it was so good, because I got out of there and I'm like, you know, yeah. And then of course massage helps me as well.
Mine is my
Resimize.
colon. Mine is my colon.
Oh, so you hold it in your bowels. Okay.
Oh,
All right. So you get stressed and you get IBS symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So just think of people that don't pay attention and they don't know, right? And so they don't know what's causing it. But if you listen to your body and you really pay attention, you can figure out what's going on. Yeah. So oh my God, I'm stressed and here I am. Here my bowels are just, off the charts. And so you got to calm down to get them to relax. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had somebody. They went into the hospital. They just got released not too long ago. They've been here like 5 months.
They were in the hospital for 5 months.
So at one point they were battling constipation, probably maybe a month before that. And then something else happened and it sent them in the hospital.
Can you guys hear her? Did you hear what she said?
She was kind of low. I didn't get the beginning.
I knew a friend of ours, older guy, and he was battling constipation from stress at work, things like that, and probably dealing with that for about a month or so. And then about sometime after that, he ended up in a hospital for some other health issues, but constipation and stress kind of, I think, led to the later things, and he ended up losing a lot of weight, but he's just now getting released from hospital care, physical therapy, everything. Like he wasn't walking.
5 months in the hospital.
Unconscious.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Your muscles will just atrophy.
Yeah. He lost over 100 pounds.
He lost over 100 pounds in the hospital. And muscle. And your heart is muscle, right? So it doesn't only affect the muscle in your arms and your legs, it affects everything. You get out of there, you're so weak. My goodness.
Yes,
oh, wow. Well, you should have him come see me.
We're trying to get him right. I'm telling you, we're trying to get him right. You need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, have him talk to somebody. Okay. History of hay fever, respiratory allergies, itchy nose and ears, history of frequent ear infections, red irritated eyes, exposure to air pollution, allergic asthma. And then there's, of course, histamine combinations, allergy combinations, and lots of oils. See if those are the same. They are the same. Yep, they're the same oils. And then, of course, consult a doctor for a diagnosis first. Always get a diagnosis. Oh, I can see you now, Susan.
Hi.
Hi, that's your husband?
Yes, this is John.
Hi, John. Nice to meet you. I've heard very good things about you. Okay. Okay, so here we have deficient mucus. So that's when somebody is dry, okay? And deficient thick yellow mucus, dry lungs, and sinus. And they can either go into dry and irritated, or they can go dry and weakened. So if they're dry and irritated, which is dry, they will have a dry, irritated cough. and an unproductive cough. So that means they can't get stuff out. My dad is like that, and I'm like that. Can't get anything out. It's just dry. Okay, so guess what? Mullein. Mullein is really great for that. Simple. Marshmallow, licorice root, slippery elm, lobelia, and there's the oils. Okay, dry, weak, and cold indications are wheezing, shortness of breath. They're pale and thin, dry, leathery lungs, and they've been a smoker. Okay, so things like a Chinese lung support combinations and horsetail, and then there's some oils there again. Okay, then we have the opposite. We have excess mucus, wet. We have wet. So that's like my son, constantly sniffling, and he's got a blue eye. So blue-eyed people are going to tend to have more mucus typically. Okay, so there's that fenugreek and thyme combination. So you can always just get fenugreek and thyme and use them together. Okay, so if it's cold, if there's a cold and congestion, indications are white or clear mucus and watery mucus. So it's either going to go over to the lungs or the sinus. If you go over the lungs, then you would use what's called some kind of an allergy combination, garlic. If it goes over the sinuses, then like a sinus support combination. If it gets worse and it goes into infection, that's when that mucus is going to be yellow and green and brown. That's my son used to have that when he was a kid. He used to get that thick, really thick green mucus in his, so golden seal, echinacea golden seal, those are great. Colloidal silver. You know, you guys can use colloidal silver anywhere in your body, on your body, anywhere. It doesn't hurt you, and it's great. So it can be put up the nose, and then there is also oils there.
So you could put that into a neti pot if you have sinuses or congestion, the colloidal silver.
You can put it in a neti pot, yes,
Okay.
but you can also just put it directly up in the sinuses.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, you can just lay on the bed, get a dropper, and drop it up there.
Okay.
Yep.
I believe you can put it in your eyes too. Is that Brenda? Is that right,
Yeah,
Brenda?
I've got multiple clients now that are using the silver in their eyes. And you know how you get the running, you get the allergies, and people's eyes are all red and itchy. Have them put colloidal silver in there. It'll take care of it. I mean,
So
that is a symptom. That's a symptom of the problem, but it will help their eyes.
So instead of using allergy eye drops, you could use the colloidal silver in your eyes. Is that what you're saying?
Silver. Yeah.
Wow.
It's very soothing to the eyes.
I'm having that problem right now. I'm going to go use them.
Yeah, get some colloidal silver. I've got somebody that I had somebody that doesn't make tears, and so they're using the colloidal silver, and nothing that they were given before was working, and incredible. I mean, just I told her to start using it. Boom, it works. And
Wow.
I have,
I'm going to use it because you told us about slippery elm and chamomile for gas, and it is like that works. So
good.
I'm trying eye drops that you're saying about this.
If you can use colloidal silver for almost all kinds of things. So if you know anybody that gets women that get yeast infections, you put that in a douche bag and douche with it. I mean, you can do
Ears.
in the ear infections, ear itching. You can use it for, of course, ear itching a lot of times has to do with parasites, but you can use it in the throat, the gums. I mean, you can,
Brenda, are we talking about any type of colloidal silver, or are you talking about specifically like silver shield?
Well, yeah, but that I'm not naming any companies.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if somebody can get the colloidal silver at the health food store and it works.
Okay, because
So,
I know that a lot of silver is not good, and getting the right one is very important. So that's why I was asking.
yeah, well, it's got to be a good quality, and you have to know what kind of the company that has a reputable that has a good reputation. You don't want to just go buy something that's on sale, that's old and cheap. You know,
Exactly.
don't do that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've had people do that and then come back and tell me it doesn't work. It's like, yeah. Why is that a surprise? You got it on sale and it's probably been in that store for how many months and they're getting rid of it. So it's going to be super cheap and that's why it didn't work. Exactly. And who knows what it was made from anyway. Okay, so remember when you talk to your clients and what you learned at the beginning of the course is that you have to use certain parts of the plant. Some things use the leaves, some things use the roots, some things use the stems, right? Some things use the flowers. And if you don't use the part that you're supposed to use, then it's not going to work as well, right? And so a lot of times people get these things on sale and it's supposed to be the root instead it's the leaf. Well, the leaf isn't going to work as well as the root on some of these things. And so you've got to know which components of that plant are the ones to use. Okay, there you go. So there's the nicotine use, desire to stop smoking or using tobacco. So there's the Lobelia St. John's wort. There's always tobacco detox homeopathics if people want to use homeopathy. Lobelia, and then there's the oils. Stress away, peace and calming. Lavender's really great. Thieves is another one. Sacred Mountain is another one. And then, like I said, you can always put peppermint on the tongue, peppermint on the fingers. You can put it on the cigarette or whatever, you know, to get to, it depends on the person. Okay, and here's my little iridology slide. So I took some pictures here and put them in here. So we have a mixed biliary iris constitution on the left, and those little lines going up.
Where we don't see anything.
This is the sinus here. This is a sinus reaction field right here. And there's these little lines. These are called radial furrows going up through the sinus. So that's a great indication that somebody may have some issues in the sinus of their body. This person has them too, but they're small, but they have this brown here in the sinus reaction field. So probably some issues there too. But this one I picked because they have these rings that go around here. And these are called contraction furrows, but these are known as stress, sensitivity, anxiety rings, okay, on the physical. And so all the organs and the glands are all out here. And so notice these are going all the way around and the lungs are over here. And so you've got these contraction furrows going right through the lung reaction field here. So guess what? When this person gets stressed, it's going to probably affect their lungs. And down here is their kidneys and so on and so on and so on in their brain. I mean, if you get really stressed, you can it can affect your brain. There's so many things. But so for the lungs, that's over here. And then this here, this is a blue-eyed person. Okay, so lymphatic constitution. And this is a lacuna here. And a lacuna is an area that typically might not absorb nutrients as well as it needs to and might not eliminate toxins as well as it should. So I have a client from San Francisco that his eye was all beautiful except he had one huge lacuna in his both lungs. And he would get bronchitis and pneumonia every year. And he said, I don't want to get bronchitis and pneumonia anymore. And so we started in the summer. He came to me. We started in the summer working on his body then, on his respiratory system. And guess what? He didn't get bronchitis or pneumonia in the wintertime. And so that's what it takes is building and cleansing and, you know, just working and working and working.
And does that ring shrink the size that you see?
This
there?
ring,
Well, the circle, the lacuna.
these rings don't go away.
No,
The lacuna doesn't
So-
go away. No.
Okay, so it still shows up like that after he's been relieved of the.
Yeah, this is a genetic. So this is a genetic predisposition. So this is coming down the line from the family. And it's a blue-eyed person. Most blue-eyed people tend to have respiratory, more respiratory issues. So lungs and bronchioles and sinus and all those kinds of things. And so that fits just right with that because it's blue. Okay, well, there you go. Next class, April 10th from 5 to 6 p.m. And that'll be on the circulatory system. So we'll see. That's a huge system. I might have to break it into 2 classes. We'll see how it goes. I imagine, because respiratory system was not long, but that one is probably going to be really long. And if you want, for those of you that are watching the video and are not signed up to be an herbal counselor, if you want to get certified and become an herbal counselor, have the board of registered nursing behind you, then just let me know. And there's a link there. Okay. And there's a way to contact me, iridology@netzero.net, and there's our office phone number there. Okay. So there you go. There's my contact information there. Again, website, joyfullivingservices.com, email, and phones. Okay. Any questions or comments or anything?
I have a quick comment regarding the golden milk.
Oh, go for it.
One of the things about turmeric is that it's more fat soluble than water soluble. So if you're making golden milk, it's really good to add like a little dab of ghee or a little dab of coconut oil. Also, black pepper increases the efficacy or the bioavailability of turmeric, almost 2000%. So a little drop or a little sprinkle, just a dash of black pepper, will make a huge, huge difference in the efficacy. So when you're making it, if you make it, and if you have a sensitivity to milk, you can always use coconut milk or almond milk or something else. But if you're making it, add a little bit of black pepper in it. There's so many different recipes. It's a classic Ayurvedic recipe, but there's certain ones that you can change. You can add a little bit of ginger. You can add a little bit of cinnamon. You know, you can add a little bit. But a good basic one for the lungs is the milk, the turmeric, black pepper, a little bit of ghee. And then, you know, clean that up. And then when it's cooled a little bit, you can add a little bit of honey and then drink that. And that's really good for the lungs. Serve it warm. You never add honey when something's hot because it kills the live enzymes of the honey and it becomes an Ayurveda. According to Ayurveda, it becomes very sticky and it clogs the channels instead of having healing properties. So if you add it when it's cool enough that you can dip your finger in and not burn your finger, so it's still warm, but it's not hot, then you add the honey and then you can drink it. So it's really good for the lungs. It's good for many things, but that particular recipe, cooking it that way is good for the lungs.
Great. Thank you, Resume. Okay, any other questions or comments? Wendy, you got anything? Oh, okay,
Nope.
you're unmuted, so
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to say anything. Anything else? Okay, well, let me go ahead. I'll stop the recording and